I hope you're doing well. This is the Home Broadcasting Channel. My name is Mtala Mkosia. South Africa is once again facing a moment of deep political tension after a renewed call for the impeachment of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The debate surrounding his leadership has become intensified, raising serious questions about accountability, corruption, governance, and the future of one of Africa's most influential democracies. For many South Africans, this is not just about one man. It is about whether the country's democratic institutions are strong enough to hold powerful leaders accountable, regardless of political influence or party loyalty. The impeachment debate did not emerge overnight. It has been building for years through controversies surrounding corruption allegations, internal African National Congress divisions, economic frustrations, and growing public anger over unemployment, crime, and poor service delivery. At the center of the latest political storm are allegations connected to governance failures and questions about transparency at the highest level of government. Opposition parties argue that President Ramaphosa failed to uphold constitutional accountability, responsibility, and should therefore face removal proceedings. His critics insist that South Africa cannot continue demanding accountability from law officials while protecting those at the very top. Supporters of the president, however, argue that impeachment push is politically motivated. They say Ramaphosa inherited a deeply damaged system after years of state capture and corruption scandals that weakened public institutions under previous administrations. According to his allies, he has been trying to rebuild state institutions, restore investor confidence, and stabilize South Africa's economy under extremely difficult conditions. To understand the seriousness of impeachment debate, one must understand South Africa's political history. Since the end of the apartheid in 1994, the African National Congress, commonly known as ANC, has dominated South African politics. Leaders like Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, and now Cyril Ramaphosa became symbols of different political eras in the country's democratic journey. But over the years, the ANC has increasingly faced criticism over corruption, internal power struggles, and failure to address inequality. South Africa remains one of the most unequal societies in the world despite being Africa's most industrialized economy. Millions of young remain unemployed. Crime levels remain high. Power blackouts, known locally as the load shedding, have frustrated businesses and ordinary citizens for years. Public trust in government institutions have weakened significantly. In many ways, the impeachment calls reflect wider frustration within South African society. One major issue is the perception that corruption continues to thrive among political elites. South Africans remember the years of state capture under former President Jacob Zuma, where political business interests were accused of influencing government decisions and looting state resources. The Zondo Commission exposed shocking allegations involving politicians, business figures, and public institutions. When Cyril Ramaphosa came to power, many South Africans viewed him as a reformer who would clean up the government and restore credibility. He promised renewal, economic recovery, and institutional reform. Critics now argue that progress has been too low. Some believe Ramaphosa failed to decisively confront corruption within his own political party. Others argue that his leadership style has been too cautious at a time when South Africa needs bold decisions. The impeachment calls therefore represent disappointment among citizens who expected faster transformation. Another important dimension is the growing fragmentation of African politics. The ANC no longer enjoys overwhelming dominance once it had. Opposition parties such as Democratic Alliance and the Economic Freedom Fighters have gained significant support, especially among young voters frustrated by unemployment and economic hardship. South Africa's recent election already showed signs that ANC political dominance is weakening. Coalition politics are becoming more common at local government level, and many analysts believe national coalition politics may eventually become unavoidable. This changing political environment means impeachment debates are no longer impossible political fantasies. Opposition parties now see opportunities to challenge ANC authority more aggressively than ever. At the same time, divisions inside ANC itself continue to create instability. The ruling party has long been divided between reformists, traditionalists, and competing power factions. Ramaphosa himself has often faced resistance from individuals within his party who feel threatened by anti-corruption reforms or leadership restructuring. Some analysts believe that impeachment pressure is not only coming from opposition groups, but also from internal political rivalries within the ANC ahead of future power struggles. This makes the situation even more complicated because South Africa's political future is increasingly shaped by battles inside the ruling party itself. Economically, the impeachment debate also creates uncertainty. South Africa is already struggling with slow economic growth, high debt, unemployment, energy shortages, and investor concerns. Political instability at the presidency level could weaken investor confidence further and create additional pressure on the economy. Foreign investors closely watch South Africa because it remains a gateway economy for many international businesses operating in Africa. Any prolonged political crisis could affect markets, currency stability, investment flows, and regional economic confidence. This is why many business leaders are calling for political stability and institutional maturity regardless of political disagreements. Another important question is how South Africa's democratic institutions respond to this moment. Unlike many countries where impeachment debates can become violent or unconstitutional, South Africa's constitutional framework remains relatively strong. Parliament, the judiciary, investigative commissions, and independent media continue to play critical roles in public accountability. This is one reason why South Africa remains politically significant on the continent. Despite its problems, the country still has institutions capable of challenging political power openly. However, institutions alone are not enough if political elites continue prioritizing party survival over public trust. The public mood across South Africa is increasingly shaped by frustration, especially among young people. Many young South Africans were born after apartheid and judge leaders less by liberation history and more by economic performance. For them, issues like jobs, electricity, housing, education, and corruption matter more than historical political loyalty. This generational shift is transforming South African politics rapidly. The impeachment debate therefore symbolizes something more larger than one presidency. It reflects a country wrestling with unfinished promises of democracy. Can South Africa reduce inequality? Can it defeat corruption? Can it rebuild trust in government? Can it create opportunities for millions of unemployed youths? Can the ANC reinvent itself after decades in power? And perhaps more importantly, can democratic accountability exist even when powerful political interests are involved? For President Ramaphosa, the challenge now is not only surviving politically, but restoring public confidence. For the opposition, the challenge is proving that they offer practical alternative rather than only criticism. Will this become a moment of accountability and democratic renewal, or will it deepen political division, institutional mistrust, and public frustration? The answer to those questions could shape South Africa's future for many years to come. If you have got any questions or comment, please do that in the comment section. My name is Mtalam Kosia, and this is the Horn Broadcasting Channel.